Negotiation is an art, and the best deals are not about price alone. I'm Becky McCulley, your Charlotte real estate expert, and I'm sharing the 3 crucial tactics that will help you win your home price negotiations. This first tactic works time and time again, and it's about knowing the inventory and where you want to live. It's going to allow you to know what homes are selling for, how fast they're selling, and if they are going for at or above the list price. And what this allows you to do when you know the market and you have narrowed down the specific neighborhoods, you can quickly make a decision on whether you want to submit an offer on this house and for how much. And we can work through all the numbers much quicker when we already have a baseline. I recently had a client where we looked at 11 homes that day. We knew the market in all of the areas that we were looking for. They didn't like any of the 11 homes that we saw. However, we saw that there was one that was in coming soon status. It was going to be listed at a certain date, which we knew, but we knew the houses in that neighborhood. We knew what the potential inspection issues were. We knew the values. We were prepared and able to make an offer on that property sight unseen without having to compete with other offers. So we reached out to the agent and said, hey, would your seller be willing to entertain an offer? They were. We were able to show up strong offer because we knew the market so well and we were comfortable with this house not seeing what was being done. This second tactic is so powerful because it completely changes the negotiation dynamic in your favor. The next tactic is working with a realtor who sets you up for success. It is important to make sure you have a buyer consultation. This is how you learn the market, you learn the inventory, and you're going to be prepared so that you're not going in blind and saying, oh, I don't know, I love this house. Oh, I'm going to have to offer $20,000 over the list price. I don't know if I really want to do that. Whereas if you have an agent who has already prepared you and said, this is what homes are selling for in this neighborhood, you are mentally prepared and you can make a decision before you even step foot in a house in that neighborhood. You just have to make sure that you are prepared for every step of the transaction. You don't really want to have surprises. You want somebody who's going to be with you, holding your hand each step of the way. For example, not only am I there to educate you before we ever step foot in a house, but also then once we submit an offer and we get under contract, that's when things really start to heat up and you want to have somebody who knows that process. I also understand the inspection process, what repairs are needed. For example, did you know that in North Carolina, if there is a repair agreement that is signed between a buyer and a seller, the seller is generally required to have a specialist make that repair. If there is, something going on with a pipe underneath your kitchen sink, they cannot have a handyman make that repair, and that would be a breach of contract. Those are the types of things that are really important to know going into each step of the transaction. You want somebody who's going to help you throughout the entire process, not just getting you under contract on a home. I've had several clients where this has worked for them and against them. For instance, I've had one client who said, I just basically want to go look at some houses. I don't really understand the whole buying process, don't really care. They didn't understand how important it was to understand the market and understand what's going on. They found a house that they love, and we looked at it and said, okay, realistically, they're getting multiple offers. This is where you're going to need to come in at if you really want to get this house. They weren't prepared to do that. We continued looking. What ended up happening is they spent about 10% more than what that house was. They realized the market is definitely changing and things are heating up. When we thought initially, oh, I don't think this house is worth it, then they started to see that. This final tactic is my secret weapon, and it's helped my buyers win their dream home every time. You need to be flexible on terms of the contract, not just price. So what does that mean? Oftentimes people are like, this is how much money I want to pay for the house. In North Carolina, we have several components to the contract. You have things like a due diligence fee, a due diligence period. You have an earnest money deposit. What you want to think about is, how can I make my offer from all of these terms stand out? Not every seller wants the highest and best price. This is why iBuyers exist and cash offers, because some people just don't want the hassle. They want a very smooth transaction. You need to understand what is important to that seller. It's about solving a problem. That's why all of the terms in the offer are so important. If you're willing to close sooner rather than saying, oh, I need 60 days, that shows you're a little more serious. All of these things combined make up a strong offer. For example, I had a client where the seller seller was not willing to offer a full buyer agent commission. What we did is we said, that's fine. What if we gross up the purchase price by the amount so that then the buyer did not have to come out of pocket to pay any real estate commissions? Offset that with seller pay closing costs. Say it's a $400,000 house. The seller's agent was only willing to offer 2% commission. So that would have been $8,000. However, the real estate commission that my buyers were responsible for was $12,000. You can gross up the purchase price to say $404,000 instead of $400,000, and then the seller is going to pay $4,000 towards that buyer's closing costs. Everybody walks away exactly the same. You're just moving numbers around. You have to think about creative ways to craft your offer. It's not just about, I want this price, end of story. There you have it. You have the 3 critical negotiation tactics that can help transform you from just another buyer to the one that gets the keys. And check out my video on the 3 essential questions to ask before buying a home.